Welcome students, hope you all are well. Today I will discuss about the first war of independence 1857, the first chapter of history subject. The first war of independence, that means this chapter relates to the independence of our country, that is India. So this was the first attempt made by the Indians to liberate themselves from the clutches of British imperialism. So before going to the main topic, I must say that with the conquest of Battle of Plassey in 1757, the British conquest or political expansion started in India, and it reaches its highest position within 1856, and the country experienced or witnessed the first war of independence, the highest mass uprising during the East India Company's rule. We have to remember one thing, that from 1757 to 1857 the country is actually governed by a trading company named as British East India Company, a company which was established for trading with India. But after coming down to the country, they analyzed the political situation, they worked out about the weakness of the local kings, chieftains, and ultimately they took the policy of expansion. But whatever may be, they conquered almost all major part of the country with the help of a big and very powerful British Indian army, which consisted of, you can say, a large portion of Indian people as well as a very little portion of the European soldiers. But these Indians of British Indian army, the Indian soldiers, they revolted against their master, that is the East India Company. And in the later period, several segments of the society, they joined spontaneously. So that's why we can very well say it was the first war of independence, it was a mass upheaval, and it was a mass uprising. But what are the causes? Why the people revolted? Why the soldiers, those who fought for the British, those who have shown courage in different battlefield, but this time they turned their rifle to their masters? What are the reasons? We must go one by one. First of all, the most important causes are the political causes. Under the heading of the political causes, we can say the first point is political annexation. It is one of the major causes which actually made widespread resentment among the Indian masses. British took several instruments for political annexation. First of all, war. Number second, introduction of subsidiary alliance. Number third, introduction of doctrine of lapse. And number fourth, on the pretext of alleged misrule. I will go through one by one. Through direct war, that means through direct bloodshedding, they challenged the authority of the Indian kings and engaged them in the battlefield, defeated them and annexed them there. We can see with the Battle of Plassey, then Battle of Boxer, then you can say Anglo-Sikh War, Anglo-Maratha War, Anglo-Mysore War. By these wars they conquest almost a major part of the country, and there was no Indian power remained which may pose threat again to them. Number second, we will see the British also took a diplomatic policy. Why we should go for bloodshedding? Rather, we must avoid it. So they introduced the policy of subsidiary alliance. And this policy was introduced by then Governor General Lord Wellesley. According to this doctrine, the British East India Company will extend their hands of help to the Indian king, and they also promised that they will protect the sovereignty of that particular state, those who enter in these alliances. And the Indian kings thought, very good. Without any, you can say, any type of benefit and all, the British company is ready to protect their sovereignty. Actually, these Indian kings are too weak to protect their sovereignty. So, by any means or anyhow, they wanted to protect themselves. There was no question of morality actually. So, the Indian kings queued to to sign the subsidiary alliance, but there are some certain conditions there. According to subsidiary alliance, those who entered in that to protect the sovereignty of the kingdom, one British troop will be positioned in that kingdom, and all expenditure of that troop should be borne by that kingdom only. That means the military force which was positioned in that particular kingdom will be commanded by an European officer. They will obey the order of East India Company, but all the expenditure will be borne by the king. And not only that, one resident commissioner will be positioned in the court. He will monitor each and every aspect of the king's activity. The king cannot enter into any matrimonial alliance or cannot take any kind of foreign policy and all without the permission of the company. And the main clause was there that for the very good and security for your country and for obviously for your throne. And then next we will see Lord Dalhousie, which was more imperialistic than Lord Wellesley. He took another suppressive measure, another aggressive measure you can say, that is the introduction of doctrine of lapse. According to this doctrine, the Indian kings, those who died without natural heir, then their kingdom will be annexed by the British company. For adopting a heir, they have to take prior permission from the company, and it was quite natural that company was not ready to give any kind of permission in this context. So obviously, this doctrine, once the doctrine of lapse is implemented, several Indian kingdoms lost their sovereignty. Several Indian kingdoms like Jhansi, Satara, Nagpur, Udaipur, Sambhalpur, these kingdoms, all kingdoms are annexed, and that created a scramble among the Indian kings. It was not doctrine of lapse. It was described as the lapse of all morals on the part of the British, but it was too late. Next, we will see disrespect to Mughal Emperor. That time, the Mughal Emperor was Bahadur Shah Jafar, and though his authority was very limited, but still the Indian people regarded him as the emperor of the country. Lord Dalhousie and Lord, you can say Canning, both actually very much instrumental. They told that first of all that they have to, after the death of Bahadur Shah Jafar, all the relatives have to leave the Red Fort. Now Red Fort will be used by the European officers. Number second, further Lord Canning stepped forward. He told that henceforth after the death of Bahadur Shah Jafar, they cannot use the regal titles. Rather, they will be merely known as the prince. Deprivation of Nana Sahib and Lakshmi Bai. Nana Sahib was the adopted son of Bajirao II, who entered in the subsidiary alliance and was a pensioner. But after his death, Nana Sahib was deprived of that. Not only that, he was forced to leave Pune and to live in Kanpur region. Obviously, so he became a bitter enemy of the British rule. Rani Lakshmi Bai, in case of Rani Lakshmi Bai also, her son Anand Rao was deprived of getting the authority of the throne, and the Jhansi was annexed to British Empire on the pretext of alleged misrule. Means for the good of the governance, for the good of the people, the British may annex any region which entered in the subsidiary alliance, and Awadh, which was very much loyal to the British, and ultimately the British annexed that region. Absentee sovereignty of the British. It is another point of discontent among the Indian masses. The Indians, those who are actually within that country, they are actually governed by the rulers, those who are living in this country. But the British, actually the British Parliament is situated thousands of miles away. We are governed by people or a government which is actually 1,000 miles away. So that's why this is an absentee sovereignty. People started questioning it, and this causes widespread resentment. The behavior of the British officers against the king's chieftains causes widespread resentment, and all the political causes became very much instrumental for the First War of Independence. Next, economic causes. Exploitation of economic resources. The British came over for what? For earning profit. Once they got the political authority over the country, now they stopped bringing gold from their own country. With the resource, huge resource they gathered from the revenue of Bengal, they started flooding their business as well as raised a huge army for political expansion. And the country which was self-sufficient in food grain production, they give major emphasis on commercial agriculture like tea, coffee plantation, rubber plantation, indigo cultivation, like that one, so that it could benefit the industries of England. So the country within few years of British rule became a agricultural colony. The country which was earlier self-sufficient in food grains, now it had to depend on the food supplies from the foreign country. And not only that, the Indian wealth, our resources, natural resources directly misutilized by the British authority. They took the natural resources from raw materials, especially like you can say coal, tin, iron, cotton, raw silk. They send it in the European factories, in the factories of England, processed in, and India was forced to become the market of finished product of the British goods. By thus, the country was deprived of any kind of big industries. There was a growing unemployment, and not only that, our wealth is drained. By thus, England become rich, and we become poor and poor. And this theory is called drain of wealth. Actually, this theory of drain of wealth propounded first by Dadabhai Naoroji and a famous economist, historian, that is Ramesh Chandra Dutt. Actually, drain of wealth during you can say writing his book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, Dadabhai Naoroji propounded this theory drain of wealth. That means the drain of wealth, poverty and un-British rule. That means the Britain ruled their citizens in a manner which is not at all followed in case of Indians. We always treated as tertiary citizen, not secondary even. And decay of cottage industries. See, we have traditional handicraft and cottage industries. Indian silk, especially muslin and all, and cotton textile had got huge demand in the European market. But unfortunately, British took a very faulty revenue policy. They introduced the inland taxation system, and as well as Indian items are heavily taxed in the European market, whereas the imported British goods are sent at very nominal taxation. So ultimately, due to this faulty revenue policy, unfair competition, we can see the British started monopolistic business in this country. Ultimately, this causes the decay of the cottage industries. Thousands of peasants, artisans, they lost their job. Not only that, there is a shortage of royal patronage. Earlier, the Indian kings, they used to patron our own cottage industry. But as they are out of power, maximum of them are disposed of. So ultimately, this cottage industry got heavy setback. Next, economic decline of the peasantry. The British, their only aim is how to earn more and more profit. So that's why they introduced several type of land revenue system, like permanent settlement, like you can say Raitwari settlement, Mohalbari settlement. But whatever may be, the burden of taxation is very, very high. So it actually increased the misery of the peasantry. Not at all they made any kind of welfare for the peasantry. Actually, their major objective, how they can earn more and more profit. Next, the socio-religious causes. The British, those who used to propagate that Indian civilization is inferior civilization, and all kind of Indian activity is inferior in comparison with the British and European society. So that's why they tried to modernize our country. But what is modernization? What is civilization? This actually definition given by the so-called developed and modern Europeans. We have to remember it. And they are the colonial masters. They always carry the colonial relics all over the world. James Mill, one of the famous you can say philosopher, he told the knowledge of India is not at all more than a shelf of British library. I don't know by this statement what he wanted to prove, but at least we can get some idea what are the actually apprehension of the British about us. Now, so that's why they introduced some of the modern customs and traditions. They introduced education for all. They introduced Western education. They discarded the native system of education. They discarded the Oriental system of education, and all these factors. And also they tried to modernize the society, tried to stop some evil customs like abolition of Sati. In 1829, Lord William Bentinck passed the Abolition of Sati Act, and by this it was a very good act, obviously, and like Girl Child Infanticide Act, and these acts are actually, though apparently good for the Indians and obviously good for the Indians, but the Indians apprehended this is direct interference in their socio-religious customs. Apprehensions about the modern innovations, as European society is far developed during that time than the Indian society because of unprecedented development in the field of science and technology. We have little idea about modern innovations. The electrical poles are erected, which was apprehended by the Indians, that these poles are erected to punish the Indians who will be against the British rule. They will be hanged. Not only that, the British in 1850 introduced the law of property, and according to law of property, the Hindu convert can get the property right of his father. But the Hindus, especially the Orthodox Hindus, they directly questioned the authority of the British to interfere in their socio-religious activity. They introduced railway system. It was good. Actually, it was not only meant for comfort of the Indian people. It was actually meant for smooth, you can say, transportation of the natural resources as well as the troops. But we got the benefit of it. We have got, within few years of the introduction of railway, that is in 1854 it was introduced, and within few years we got a dense network of railways, and this railway system actually we are also using that one, but Indians are forced to sit in third class compartment, and also they are not allowed to sit as per their caste system. So higher caste Hindus, they widely resented this activity of the British. So these political causes, economic causes and socio-religious causes widespread resentment, not only among the soldiers, among the all segments of the society, which actually fueled the first war of independence in 1857. So, boys and girls, go through these causes in your books, read thoroughly. At least you must read 4 points, okay, of each and every causes. And in the next episode, I will discuss the courses of the movement as well as the aftermath of the movement. Thank you very much.